I vaguely remember you at Berkeley because we shared an instructor, Dave Tronzo.
Mm-hmm. Great guy.
Right. And I remember at some point, me and some other students who were students of his, he was like, "Oh, check out this guy." We went down to see you at like the First Act store, which God knows if it's there.
Oh yeah.
And
wow. That was a long time ago.
and as the first time I ever saw it, I was like, "Whoa, this is really intense." Also, it's the first time at that school, especially where I was like, I don't know what this style of playing is.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's jazz, I
Right.
guess, but and then I just didn't hear about you.
Mm-hmm.
At some point I saw it was Steps Ahead, the Obama sticker,
Yeah.
thing with the low Ibanez or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That thing.
Yeah.
And then
Blind you believing political ideology. 20-year-olds are great at it, really good at it.
and I didn't really hear a lot. And then it wasn't nothing but just curious on my couch, going like, whatever happened to that? And then I was able to find bits and pieces on the internet, and I was kind of able to piece out what happened. I was like, okay, so at some point a classical album, at some point Europe,
Yeah.
and there was actually one part where I was like, at one point a baker.
Yeah.
And
That was it's my longest running joke with the world is that I was living in Italy teaching at a school, and I had some time. I had like days off, and I was like, man, it would be so stupid if I just like learned how to bake. And I just walked into this bakery, and like I actually like I'm a certified master baker in Italy. It's great. It's like totally stupid, but I am, yeah.
That is dumb, and I'm glad that you committed to the bit. Like, this would be stupid, and then
It's just funny. It's I just
so
like
much work for a stupid joke.
Yeah, but it was also like I mean, it was funny and also a good use of time, days off, and the thing about music that can be kind of frustrating sometimes is it's so fourth dimensional, right? You have this like it always lives in the ether. You have the instrument, that's great. But the thing you give to people and the things they take in is a non-tangible, non-tactile thing. A record is real, your phone is real, but the music is not in the physical realm. That's the greatest thing about music, and it's also, for the creator, can kind of be a little limiting sometimes. I just wanted to something about the artisan sort of craftsmanship of it kind of sparked in me I want to use my hands, and it's like I can see it.
Right.
It's a process that was great. It was really therapeutic. It really helped with like creativity. I highly advise anyone who is having a rut to do something else that's creative that is more tactile. It helps a lot, like pottery or baking or whatever, carpentry or whatever the hell.
Other than one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard that involved you being a master baker.
Yeah.
What else happened in there? It was like you mentioned and then I lived in Europe, and then I lived in New York, and then I live over here, and then I did this thing. I guess what made you not want to put yourself out there, because it wasn't the easiest thing to find a lot about you.
Yeah.
And then
it's a good question. I guess it comes back to the same thing that we're talking about with music, being sort of driven and being guided by your creative impulses. Like I'm guided and driven by all of my impulses, not just creative ones. So if I have an interest in something or I have a need, it's stupid to say for the person who's saying it to say they're a seeker, because that sounds like pretentious horseshit. But I just have that time period. I'm a little more kind of centered now with now that I have a family and I've been living in one place longer than 3 years. But I just had I grew up in a pretty scrappy nomadic family, and I probably lived in 40 apartments by the time I was 18 or something. So I got used to moving, used to that kind of gypsy sort of lifestyle. And Berkeley was the longest I'd ever lived in one location. Like the apartment that I had in Boston was like my longest time in one location, probably up until that point ever.
Oh wow.
And you have I love nature and I love quiet and peace, and I wanted to spend I lived for a year in Tucson, Arizona, and I did nothing but hike in mountains every day. And then I'm governed by different forces, I think, than maybe like your average guitar player wants to make it big, and that I was never able to really subsume my other desires to that one thing. As I've gotten older, I've realized that music is the thing that I have to offer to the world the most, and so it's kind of incumbent upon me to make some sacrifices psychologically to like
Sure.
put myself out there more. But when I was younger, I was just like, man, there's just too much of the world to fucking check out. Like I'm not gonna just stay in Brooklyn and play at play at Smalls. I mean, like what like that seems literally small. It seems like it's just a crazy stupid choice. Because just I mean, and I've traveled a lot, and I'm still saying I'm still have this itch. And I think if you have the itch, you have it. And I realize that because I have it, I don't necessarily need to try to scratch it. I just have to like deal with having it.
Itch to travel notwithstanding, that doesn't mean that this doesn't explain, I suppose, why you wouldn't be online anywhere.
Oh, because I
imagine a lot of people don't have records on Spotify because they hate the machine, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
they don't. They want you to seek them out and then pay $20, whatever the thing is. Unfortunately, a lot of that situation, you just never find them.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. I think I would. I mean, I think it's a two-pronged answer. One would be that I've never had a good management, which is one part of it, right? I mean, the getting out there question tends to be less about the artist and really, really more about who's getting you out there, right? Some people are great about uploading videos. Like now, the new era we're at, like YouTube, you can do all that. That's true.
Where you're your own manager.
But you do kind of hit a cap at a certain point. You really need somebody to be like, I got a connection with this merch company, and I've got to play. And you need a road manager, a true manager, or somebody, right? You're not gonna book gigs in fucking Bratislava unless you know someone there. You can't do it. It's impossible. So probably some of that, and also more me really. In that, like I said, I mean, to my own detriment, probably, really, career-wise, not personally, because I think personally I grew leaps and bounds from all the experiences I've had in my life, and so I would rather grow personally than be able to be like, well, I mean, man, like how many guys do you know that are in their mid-30s that are like great players, but are like really fucking children? Like they're just like, they don't have any life experience, they don't know anything about the history of the world or geography or cultures, or they're just players. And that's great, but I achieved that status of musicianship when I was in my teens. Like I could play my ass off when I was very young. So when I got to be in my mid-20s, I was like, man, I need more answers. I need more questions answered, right? And those questions were less musical and more just like personal, like just oriented, right? And I never thought. I mean, believe me, plenty of people in my life were like, dude, you're fucking. What are you doing? What are you living in? What are you doing, man? Like, get out of here. Get over here. Start playing. Let's play. And I guess I've always just seen things from the more of a macro perspective. Like, I see things from the worm argument always. Like, do I want to be able when all is said and done? I want to be able to be like, man, I lived the holy fuck out of my life, And I saw things I wanted to see and did things I wanted to see. And like, if I wanted to do peyote in the desert of Tucson with a shaman and see what that's all about, I did that. Cool, great. What else? Like, and all those things have informed my musicianship. And I think like, what's odd is that you can't. I never went at those experiences with the intention of like having them auxiliarily benefit my music. That was never the point. It was always just to experience things.
Huh.
But they have absolutely
auxiliarily
benefit because they give you a grounding in life and experience and reality, which makes you like the confidence argument we talked about earlier, right? Like there's no way I could possibly come onto a stage and feel one solitary speck of insecurity, because I've been chased by dogs in Morocco, or like like I'm just not worried about playing on a stage in front of some rich people, You
were chased by dogs, really?
Yeah, in Fez in Medina, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I hit my head when I was in a hotel, and then I was really out of it. I went to this like place that was like they were like breeding dogs, and I didn't realize that I was there, and they just like chased me. It was fucked up. But yeah, so like I'm glad all this, and also musically speaking too, man. Like all the places that I've gone, I've really dug into the musical cultures when I've been there. And
you seem to dug in them, but it's not like when famously like Derek Trucks got into Indian music, and then you superheroed into playing. And then...
That's superficial. That's the thing, man. I mean, I love George Harrison, but that's the George Harrison, Paul Simon model of like, let me go to Africa and listen to and let me hire these guys, and suddenly I'm Africa. It's like, no, dude, you're playing the exact same song. If I were to take, any of that Paul Simon era stuff and just put it on an acoustic guitar, it's just Paul Simon. Like, he didn't fundamentally change. So the environment changed, which he was inspired by, and blah blah blah, and that's great. But I'm talking more just like how music is used in different societies, like what it means to people, and the core tenets of what it stands for means different things to different cultures. And I think that's, having seen, melody being a huge thing. Like in Mali, they have this whole Tuareg community of that does this. It's essentially, there's a cool book came out a couple years ago that traces Malayan culture in Mali through African slave ships through the American South to the Delta, right? And you can really see, these guys in Mali are playing but they're playing stuff like that, right? Which is just, you just take 100 years and Protestant religious hymn music and infuse it with that, and you've got blues basically, right?
Right.
And these cultures are it's about feeling. No one gives a fucking shit if you can there's no even concern about things like harmony and melody and what you can play and what you how ripping are you and what's your pot. None of this matters, man. Actually, to bring up Tronzo again, who's also very much coming from this musical space, who's such a great dude. He posted it he put something on Facebook or something like 10 years ago. Maybe it's even older than that. And it was an African dude playing a gourd with one string on it.
Yeah.
And he was playing this groove on it that was so ridiculously grooving. More grooving than anything you could possibly come up with on a drum machine or a drum set. And he was so just super casual. No, this is not a thing. And I think that removal from the Western system of this is my chord progression and this is the song that I wrote and this is why it's cool and this is why this song is interesting and because I have this 4 minor here and that's fun and isn't this great and my song's about my breakup and all that sort of stuff, right? To just be man, this is life, man. This music is just transferring energies here, right? So if I would, today being the person I am now, I would rather hear somebody, I would rather hear that than or whatever. A million times more, right? Because you without that crux of things, that it's all kind of silly. And I think I didn't drop off the radar and do all that sort of stuff for the sake of finding that, but I definitely found that in that process.
And so when you dropped off the radar, you mentioned a few times is losing the knowing too much. If you transcribe, the veil is lifted and you saw the thing behind the magician, the thing, whatever.
Don't meet your heroes.
Right.
Yeah.
I suppose you're probably one of the few people that can achieve a level of playing and do none of that. I don't even know what I'm getting at because it's just rarefied, I suppose.
Sure, yeah.
Do you still listen to music with that kind of amazement, I suppose? Do you still have new people that you're assimilate the essence of?
I'd say the older that I get, new music excites me less and less. But old music excites me more and more.
Why?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think I guess I'm not like this. The scene that we currently have now, where there's a lot of this genre cross pollination happening.
Right.
Doesn't excite me that much. I'm kind of looking more for purity now than for innovation. I'm more interested in give me an acoustic guitar and your voice and destroy me. Not oh wow,
so
you took Indonesian gamelan and hip hop and wow, and you're singing and it's a female voice like a high soprano and that to me is interesting, but I'm moved by that less than I'm moved by a Carter Family bluegrass recording.
So you just want to listen to something that is very actually what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and because I think there's something truer about because let's take blues or country or even jazz. These things took a long time to gestate to become what they were, and you had there wasn't the technology and there wasn't any society was less connected and all of that, so you didn't have as much. You had multiple generations of people sitting with this stuff and contemplating it and playing it a lot and refining it and chiseling it. It's this is erosion. This is the Grand Canyon, right? We're making shit out of a 3D printer now because it's just possible to do. but erosion is different than printing. You know, erosion is years and years. It takes time to build these things, and when they come out, they tend to be more solid, at least in my mind, right? And where I kind of feel things going now is everything's so rapid, man. Like, man, the Black Keys were happening 5 years ago. It seems like it was 15 years ago. Like 5 years ago, they were like guitars on Billboard top hits. Now you'd have to search high and low to find even a piano. It isn't just like some straight up, you know, all electronic sound. So I don't the acceleration of change. I think with art it's great with like consumer goods. Like I'm glad that I can buy a 75-inch TV for a fourth of what I would have bought it 5 years ago. That's great, I guess, or a car or whatever the fuck it is. But with art, it's suspicious to me with art because art needs time to sit, marinate, and you need multiple generations of people to come at this stuff and interpret it and think about it.
Are you taking that approach to your own albums then?
Yeah.
Of like coming from one place?
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
What kind of music is that going to be?
It's a great question. I won't be able to answer that question until I figure it out. Because I'm waiting for...
I hope it's like a country record.
I would like to do that. I actually would. I really would. I thought about it. You know, yeah, actually, speaking about country records and people who you don't expect them to come from, Kiefer Sutherland's new country record is fucking great. Really, anybody should check it out. You think it's crazy? You think I'm just saying, like, oh, it's great because he's an actor? Nope. It's a really good country record, period.
All right.
Crazy. Really crazy. Another guy who's kind of a little... can't really be boxed and has a problem with that. Anyway, yeah, so I'm thinking about, you know, country. It's definitely going to be something foundational. And by that I mean like American foundational, whether it be blues or to be country or to be something.
This is what you grew up with?
That and like, you know, I'm trying to get rid of all the artifice of stuff, you know, just to get like, let's get away from, I guess, you know, the thesis of the whole thing really is that I've been searching for just more energy, really has been the goal of my whole thing if I were to like self-analyze it. And I think much like, you know, that kind of late 60s school of thought that the content was going to be the production, was how energy was going to be produced. That by more content and less diatonic content and more space being filled, that you would, by virtue of that, it's very like atomic energy thought. I mean, it makes sense that this thought process came out of the atomic age and of that like post-war mentality because it is this kind of splitting the atom mentality that if you can get inside the smallest spaces and occupy them with things, you're going to have an eruption. That's the key. You need to be more density, more mass, right? And I just know that that's bullshit now. I think that doesn't work. It doesn't produce more intensity. It produces more noise. It produces more sound. True, great, cool, fun. But you know, like go to a construction site and tell me if more sound is good. It's not always the right thing. You know, a lone bird is beautiful because it's less, but it's choice of notes, choice of pattern, choice of things, and that's kind of where I'm always gearing myself toward. But I won't put a record out until it's like solidified. You know, that's also a bad thing to do if you're thinking about it in terms of the market because you know I should do it every 90, you know, every 16 months, and you got to do that. You know, I don't do that. But it's coming along. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about ways to think about blues and country in a way that will bring me to a, you know, will be worthwhile. Also, like I think it's completely superfluous to make a record if you're saying anything that like has been said better by someone else.
Sure.
So like I need to know for sure that the thing that I'm going to put out is going to be going to stand alone on its own in the pantheon of whatever particular thing I'm doing.
But I imagine that even if you came with a blues album, it wouldn't be that for every solo.
No, definitely not.
So even you doing your best Stevie Ray trio, I'm going to sing and play the blues thing.
Yeah.
But I suppose you'd have to commit to that for the album and then the tour cycle and then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting better at that. Like I said, you know, I've sown all the oats. You know, I looked for all the oats, man. I sowed literally everyone I could find. And I'm glad I did it, man. Like, you know, as a dad now, and as I'll be able to tell my son, like, I'll have a really deep, vast life experience set to come at him with when he's older and say, hey, Dad, what's this about? What's that about? And he'll say, oh, well, when I was in, you know, where I was in Slovenia, I did that, and when I was in, you know, whatever, I did that, and not just touring stories, because like touring stories are fun, but they're kind of all the same because you just go to the airport and go to the hotel. But like really life experiences, or like, you know, when I was in the desert, I learned like desert survival, and I have like, you know, I can be alone in the desert for months and be fine, and those are all things I would like to teach my son, and those are all, you know, so I would when and if this record comes out, I mean, it will come out. When it comes out, it will be blues. But I'm always looking for like the thing underneath the idiomatic stuff, right? Like, yes, this is blues. Whatever, that's blues. Cool.
Yeah.
But like, why is like not harmonically, because we know that's cool. But that's also could be anything. That isn't just blues. What about it makes it blues? And then like how can those inflections be used? Like you could play more jazzy, or and you got like a battle song or something. You can go. They're just notes. Yeah. Notes don't mean genre, right? So what about something makes a genre one thing and not another thing? And then thinking about those inflections, how can I use the essence of blues to have it come out maybe in something that isn't necessarily like that, but still like undeniably bluesy. And that's the challenge that I'm working with, and it comes back to what we were doing with what I was doing when I was a kid, which is that in a jazz context. But now I'm just playing, playing free. I'm doing a lot of this lately. Just playing free, but in like a la blues,
Right.
and trying to find like the cracks and the spaces where I can like have a melodic concept that's like the Shostakovich sort of Russian thing, but with whatever, right? Which is just like, that's fucking blues guitar playing, but isn't.
Right.
And
but somewhere to come from rather than just to quote unquote break it apart again and have it be free and be like, oh, I guess that's free because I can't put it in any other box.
Totally, yeah. And I think that's kind of like this idea that I'm working on now is, I think, the kind of final fruition of what Black Baptista and that rock period of mine was kind of trying to do. Is that was sort of doing what you're talking about now. It's like, let's take a rock band and let's just fuck it up. Let's just like play outer shit, weirder shit. Let's just like be, let's not think about
something different.
Right. For some reason, that band is huge in Greece. Whatever, that record is massive in Greece. I don't know, for whatever reason, like that just like hits Greek people hard for some reason. Every time I go to Greece, it's just like, oh my god, dude, what?
I had my first album. I had a band called Bloodline. I didn't realize that Joe Bonamassa, mine was The Bloodline. I didn't realize his was Bloodline.
Ouch.
And I didn't realize that people buying the shit out of that on Amazon
thought that it was Joe
were
Bonamassa.
Like, what the hell? Where's Joe Bonamassa? I'm like,
ouch.
Whoops. No, I was totally fine. The check still came.
Sure. Like, checks coming.
I was like,
Did
that's
his
fine.
people ever hit you up about that?
Oh, it wasn't.
Because the sales weren't worth worrying about? Yeah.
That's always my point to anyone who's like, I'm worried about the copyright, being like, I feel like if you get the call from the lawyer, you're doing very well. That's a very good sign.
Totally. Yeah. No one in jazz should ever be worried about copyrights. It's just, no one's publishing it, no one's placing it. It's like,
it's fine.
And no one's buying it. So, yeah, man. So, I'm looking for that thing. And it's an elusive... I found it many times before, so I know that I'm going to get there, because I know how this process works, and it's like a long, laborious process of just kind of figuring out where these things live. But, we'll get there.